Hello again, beautiful beings of light. I am back today to talk about a very polarizing, very controversial topic. Not only will I be talking about the riots and the protesting that everyone, especially in America, has been witnessing over the past week or so, but I'm also going to be talking about other minorities, police brutality. I'm going to be talking about how to unify the nation, right? And recently, each one of my videos has been set with an intention, and every word that I choose to use in these videos is actually meant to unlock an aspect of yourself. I am here to give you the power. I am here to liberate you from any sort of confines, whether that be internally, externally, or politically. So today, my intention is for each and every one of you to understand that you have the power to bring polarity consciousness into unity consciousness. And you don't necessarily have to go out on the street and riot in order to bring this polarity of this world and this planet and the absolute disgusting treatment of minorities into unity. But we need to find unity. And I want to actually just start with something that came to me really, really vividly. And I want to say that everything I'm going to be talking about today came through a huge download. And I knew a couple days ago that I needed to talk about this topic from a more spiritual perspective, right? And so I took a shower. This was on Saturday. And during my shower, I had this intense amount of information come to me, okay? And after I got out of the shower, I went straight to my phone and I started typing all these notes. It took me probably about an hour and a half to relay the information that came to me in probably 3 minutes, right? And it's about all this information. I just want to start with something for all of you to ponder on. And I want to start with the concept of aliens, right? If you don't believe in aliens, or if the concept of interdimensionals or hybridization or alien DNA is very triggering to you, then you most likely are not on my channel. You're most likely not watching my videos. Which means that if you're here right now, if you randomly found me recently, randomly with a wink, then you're here for a reason. You're ready to open up. You're ready for this next evolutionary step. So I just want to plant the seed in each and every one of you. And I want to say that if we can't love each other as human beings and see that no matter what age, no matter what culture, no matter what language, what race you are, or gender, let's be real, we need to love one another. If we can't love and treat our fellow humans the same way that we treat our mothers or our best friends, then how can we ever expect for interdimensional beings to come from other planets to this planet and be accepted, even if they look like human beings? How can we open-armed accept interdimensionals on this planet if we can't accept ourselves? A big part of why this is all happening right now at this time is so that we can actually go multidimensional, so that we can actually start traveling off of this planet, so that we can actually evolve our humanity exponentially. But we can't do that. How can we love anything else? How can we keep killing plants and animals on this planet, and we expect to go inhabit another planet or go make contact with another being? It's never going to happen. So if you're all about aliens and interdimensionals, you've got to be about human rights first, right? So not all of you are going to agree with the information that I'm going to share today. And it's funny, because we're talking about unity. And I think that upon discussing unity, we have to go through polarity. So if there's something that's resisting within yourself during this video, All I ask is that you watch the whole video and that you dig a little bit deeper and you ask yourself why there is a resistance there, right? And I'm also not asking all of you to agree with everything that I'm about to say. Okay, so before I really dig in and deep dive, I just want to say that I will not be covering conspiracy theories. I will not be covering this huge plot for distraction on the planet. Not at all. I'm going to be covering the base reason why this is all happening right now. The fact that we need to prepare for this sort of uprising to happen more and more and more and more. Every single aspect of this humanity, of this global society, this melting pot of culture and projection, everything that is misaligned and disharmonious needs to be purged out. We need to start unpacking the shadow side of the global collective consciousness before we rise into unity consciousness, 5D. If we still have baggage on this planet, then how can we move on? We can't. We're going to be stuck in 3D. And up until this point in time, we have been blinded by the illusion of safety. Okay, before I get all riled up, because this really riles me up, I do want to say that I have a background in politics. I actually wanted to be a lawyer. I went to school for global politics, and I ended up specializing in global political economy because I wanted to know where the power was held. And then, of course, I learned about reptilian shapeshifters ruling the elite. And then I realized, well, I can just throw away everything that I've ever learned about International Monetary Fund and non-government organizations because that in and of itself is still an illusion and still a lie. And, I might as well just go a little bit deeper than that, right? So I've always been, in my own way, a bit of a political activist, but I was also very sucked into conspiracy. I was also very sucked into polarity in that way. I'm going to give you the 3 different levels of where you may be at with this upheaval, this uprising, this rioting, this protesting, 3rd dimension, 4th dimension, 5th dimension. And by the end of this video, and it's definitely going to be an hour-long video because I've got a lot of information to cover, by the end of this video, I am going to give you tangible solutions of what you can do, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, or you're living out of your car, or you're some fancy businessman, or you're some influencer and you have a cooking channel. I'm going to give you advice on what you can do, given your network, given your tools, to help the planet shift into unity. That's what the conversation should be about. It's not about distraction. It's not about projection. It's not about Illuminati plots. Okay, we need to be real. We need to be grounded with this. We need to understand that this is happening for a reason because we need to change. We need to reform. Okay? Okay, so before I deep dive, obviously if you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and click the subscribe button. If you want more content from me, I've got 50, 60 plus videos now for members only, so check that out and you can click the join button below. And then of course, all of you guys with the super chats, if you resonate with this content, if you feel like this has shifted you or helped you or supported you in any sort of way, I love that support back. Super chats, if you're watching this after, donations, and there should be a link in the description below. So thank you all. I can't say thank you to each and every one of you. That's what I got my assistant Lauren for. Okay, cool. First of all, major disclaimer here. Not all cops are bad. I just have to say it, okay? And secondly, not all politicians are reptilians. Okay. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about corruption. All right, so what sparked what sparked everything that's happening. Now, I'm going to just go over what basically happened and the reason why, even though it's a huge kind of global thing, a lot of you aren't in America, and a lot of you who are in America don't watch the news like I do, right? So I didn't really know what was going on because we're still out here in Joshua Tree, but the riots went right through West Hollywood, which is where we reside. So it really hit close to home. Okay, so allegedly, this is what happened. In America, there's this guy named George Floyd, and he's from Minneapolis, and he's 46 years old. And apparently what happened was he went into a corner store or whatever, gas station, and apparently he was using a $20 counterfeit bill, okay, apparently. And so the clerk of the corner store called the police on him. The police came and basically said, I don't know, it was all caught on film. But basically the police, also George is a black man, just so you know. And so the police weren't using proper procedures, and they basically said, stop resisting, stop resisting. He wasn't resisting. You can check out the video and all this information for yourself. And so one of the police officers put his knee on his neck when he was on the ground. He was saying, help, help, I can't breathe. And for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, this police officer was crushing this guy's neck, and the guy ended up dying, right? So the day after, I do want to say that the Minneapolis police station or whatever fired all 4 of the policemen involved, right? So they fired all 4 of them. However, that didn't stop people from rioting and protesting. And really what the protests are all about are like equal rights and discrimination, and the fact that this guy wasn't really causing a big fuss, and he died over $20, apparently a counterfeit $20 bill. So that's the story, right? Once again, for those of you who don't watch the news, that's the story that's out there. I'm not sure, it's not up to me to say what's right or what's wrong, but that's how the riots got started. Okay. So I'm going to give you my spiritual perspective on why I think all of this is happening. Okay, so basically America, and I'm just going to read off my notes because I've got a lot to say. All right, so basically America in a lot of ways is a melting pot for a lot of different cultures. Obviously really got started with the Black slave movement. Really awful, really awful stuff. And I believe that in a lot of ways, America is a mere reflection of the world. There's a lot of suppression. There's a lot of corruption going on out there in the rest of the world, but it's actually quite known, right? So if there's oppression and suppression and corruption in Saudi Arabia, the rest of the world is aware of that, and that's just a fact. The problem with America is that most people think that they are free. America is literally deemed and called the land of the free. And yet that is the furthest thing from the truth, right? So in a lot of ways, America is a mere reflection of the world. They are a melting pot. I'm Canadian personally, very proud of it. And so, no, America is not the land of the free, and a lot of people have been fed this lie and this propaganda, and a lot of people have been blissfully ignorant here in America. And finally, especially to be honest, with the election of good old DT, Donald Trump, right? With that election, people started to wake up. People started to say, hey, what's going on? Hey, is this right? Which is really interesting. I do want to mention, too, that racism and discrimination have been going on since the dawning of humanity. I know it really got started with the Black slave movement in America, but really, once again, discrimination, corruption, suppression has been going on ever since humans have been around. So what is it then, right? Who has been discriminated against? Who has been suppressed? It's been always the us versus them mentality. It's always been the 99% versus the 1%. The 1% have always been the most wealthy with the most control and the most power, right? It's always been them against us against them. And the problem is that we don't even realize that we have the power on our side. As long as we band together in unity, we have the power. We have always had the power. The power is in numbers. And unfortunately, because these elites, like I said, not all of them, but most of them, reptilian shapeshifters, check out my video, because they have been these reptilian shapeshifters, they have greater powers and awareness than humans, right? They haven't lost their memories. They know exactly who they are. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly how to thrive on this planet. And they think that humans are weak, and they think that humans are slaves. And that is how we've been treated. I don't care what country you are in. I don't care what language you speak. I don't care how old you are or what your sexuality is. You have been suppressed. You have been oppressed your entire life. Right? We need to realize that this issue permeates and penetrates far deeper within society and humanity than just America and just one race, right? We need to realize that this is an issue for everyone. And one of these signs that I saw in one of the protests was Latinos for Black rights. And I thought that was beautiful, right? Let's all band together. Minorities, not minorities, we need to stand up for one another as human beings because that's who we are. Actually, once we accept everyone as human beings, then we can finally rise to, hey, you're not just a human. You're something so much greater than that, right? Let's explore that. We can't even get to explore that because we can't even accept that we're all human. How ridiculous is that, right? Okay, cool. So our voice has been stifled time and time again. Now, here's what I believe has happened, okay? COVID and quarantine has created a bubble, right? I don't know if you guys have been feeling the bubble, but I think everyone has been. Quarantine and COVID has created this bubble. And what's happened when we've all been sitting at home is we've been thinking, right? We've been taking some time to have some deep thoughts. Who am I? Why am I here? What's the point of going back to work? Why do I have the job that I do? Is there something more meaningful out there? Why is every day so mundane? The second that we are taken out of survival, right? That fight and flight mechanism, that I need to make more money in this 9-to-5 job. The second that we're removed from that, we have time to think for ourselves. We have time to liberate our own mind by getting outside of the box that society has put us in. This is the bubble of pressure and emotion and awareness. When people wake up, it just means that they start to question the reality that they put themselves in, that they were also put in. Okay? So this bubble, this tension, this anxiety, this need to move and progress and speak up and stand up, it has been growing and growing and growing for years and years now. And COVID was the thing. It was the tipping point to push us all into finally speaking our truth. And of course, George Floyd was the one. I mean, can you imagine how incredible a soul mission is? That he led an entire uprising. His death was not in vain, right? He started an uprising without even knowing it. And he signed up for that contract. And I am so grateful that he gave us that sacrifice in such a beautiful way, right? So he started this uprising. And we have to, okay? I know like some of you are like, don't speak up, it's fine, everything will work out. And for me, I'm like, no. If deep down you feel the need to speak up, if deep down you feel the need to protest. If you feel the need to write a sign, right? I say use your voice. Nothing will ever change unless we show the elite, the 1%, that we've got the power. And we've got the power to change things for the better, to change things for unity, not for polarity. They have kept us in polarity. Because if we are triggered into fight and flight, we're triggered into survival. Therefore, we cannot think for ourselves. We'll let the politicians do what they do. We'll let them make the decisions. No, absolutely not. Not anymore. We need to get back to a democracy. What happened to that? Right? Not even Canada, in a lot of ways, is a democracy. We are turning into a capitalistic, tyrannistic state. That's what's happening. We need to fight. We do. Now, that being said, okay. The time to stop fighting is near, but it's not yet. And I'm going to repeat that. The time to stop fighting is near. Once we actually have equality, once we actually have unity, we can stop fighting. But we need to fight for our rights before we get there, because we don't have equality, right? Every minority in the world doesn't have equality. We need to fight. We need to stand up for that. And if we stand up for each other, then we're always going to have each other's back. It's no longer an us versus them mentality between the 99%. It's let's take down the top tier. Let's take down the top 1%, okay? We need to collapse aspects of society. We need to unpack the emotional tension and the trauma, right? Just like in the last video, I talked about sexual trauma. We need to see it for what it is. It's always been there. We can no longer be ignorant to the inequality that has been sitting and permeating throughout society. We can't. We need to collapse it. We need to unpack it in order to reform it. We need to see that it exists in order to change it, okay? So I thought this was really interesting. I recently read an article by Martin Luther King Jr. I definitely recommend that all of you check it out. And basically, he talked about non-violent resistance, okay? And I think this is a beautiful concept. I'm definitely not an expert in it, and I don't know it too well. But once again, non-violent resistance. So he's talking about the fact that we do need to resist, but obviously in a non-violent way. And unfortunately, I do want to say that these riots did turn violent. It didn't need to be that way, right? Shops should have not been broken into. Cop cars, honestly, should have not been burned. We should be, as a society, more mature than that. But I do want to say that there are two types of people, okay? Two types of people out there who were fighting on the streets, right? Fighting as in like, fighting for rights, okay? The majority of the people were out there for true equality. The majority of the people out there were out there for true unity, right? And it started off as a peaceful protest. It needed to be that way. And then there was a couple of people, maybe one every 100, who were just angry. Whether that be angry at their father, from childhood, or angry at the welfare state, or angry just in general. But those people, 1 in 100, who were angry, they pushed the boundaries, and they really did a fight in a non-peaceful way, and in quite a violent way. And I was disappointed to see that we couldn't fight, we couldn't unify without violence. But also, even though I was disappointed at those people, just those couple of people, I was not surprised. And the reason why I was not surprised is because that's how we were raised. We were raised in fight or flight. We were raised with war. We were raised thinking that we had to fight to get what we wanted. And I'm hoping that moving forward, it's going to be a lot better. And we don't have to use violence or fighting. And we can have peaceful protests, right? So I really, really, truly believe at a spiritual level, all of this needed to happen. Okay, you guys obviously remember the Me Too movement? Millions of women all over the world stood up. Whether they were sexual abuse victims or not, they stood up for one another, for unity, for equality, for support. And there was so much trauma that was healed by these women all over the world banding together to stand up for equal rights, to stand up to once again find their voice. We need to have these protests. We need to be able to find our voice. We need to be able to speak up. We can't be passive anymore, okay? So please keep this in mind. And I want to say, we're going to get more of this. Maybe the next protest and the next riot we have is anti-war. Let's do it. Let's bring the 60s back, right? Let's push the mold. Let's show them that 1%. Let's show them that they can't control us anymore in the way that they have. That we're demanding, we're not even asking, we're demanding our rights. We need to do that. We can't be passive. The more passive we are, the more they push the boundaries, and the more they think they can get away with it. Once again, you don't have to go out on the street, and you don't have to picket for rights. You don't have to. And I'm going to bring some solutions of what you can do to bring polarity consciousness into unity consciousness, okay? So once again, if one minority stands up, we should all stand up with them. We really should. Equal rights. We have the numbers. Okay. So I just want to put a disclaimer out there that there is a very fine line between getting sucked into 3D polarity and rising above to create change. Once again, I'm going to repeat this. There is a fine line between getting sucked into 3D polarity, and rising above to create change. If we're getting sucked in, we're not any help to anyone, okay? So be aware of that. So I have a little bit of a thought experiment for all of you, all right? I want you to right now, in this moment, while you're watching this, I want you to check yourself, okay? If you have emotional reaction or trigger to what's happening, then you're coming from a place of 3D polarity. If you have emotional reaction or trigger to what's happening, then you're coming from a place of 3D polarity. And hey, maybe you are one of the ones on the street who's enraged and angry and just wants to project that anger. That's not helping anyone. It's great that you're moving. It's great that you're taking action. It's great that you're on the street and you're protesting for equal rights. But if you're coming from a place of emotional reaction, then you're really no better than the fight or flight projection from the 1% elite, right? You're not helping yourself and you're not helping humanity. We need to be at a proper place. Okay, second stage, second level to this is 4D. If you are questioning what's happening, but you're still getting sucked into conspiracy theories and you're getting overwhelmed with facts and information, then you are getting stuck in 4D, okay? If you're emotionally reactive, you're sucked into 3D. If you are overwhelmed with knowledge, information, and conspiracy, then you are stuck in 4D, okay? So what's 5D? 5D is if you see what's happening and you choose consciously that you want to do something about it without reaction, that's 5D for you, all right? I'm going to repeat that. If you see what's happening and you consciously choose that you want to do something about it without reaction, that's 5D. And that's real change. And we need that real change in order to bring unity consciousness to this polarity reality. So, what's the solution? I have 3 different suggested solutions for you. You can take or leave any of this. It's up to you. And before I continue, I just want to say thank you all for being here, and definitely make sure you subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. And And that's all. I really appreciate you guys for giving me a voice and a platform, and for allowing interdimensional beings in the Galactic Federation to also have a voice as well. And I feel very grateful that I get to make a change, even though you can deny or accept anything that I am saying. All right, so these are suggested solutions. Step number 1, all right, for making a change and shifting polarity into unity. Be aware of where you stand and what you resonate with. What's your belief system? I'll tell you right now, you don't necessarily have to have a firm or attached belief system, but I'll tell you right now that if you go about the world just open-ended and not really believing in anything, or not knowing what you believe in or what resonates with you, then you can very easily get manipulated by others who have a stronger belief system than you. Okay? So X out all of the spiritual teachers, X out all of the external information, deep dive within yourself, especially during quarantine, and ask yourself, what do I believe in? What do I resonate with? Okay? Don't make a change or take any action if you don't know why you're taking the action. All right? Okay. So to understand what you believe in and if you should be taking action on equality and unity, here is a great place to start. And I suggest that you all write this down and you think about this sometime this week. Okay? Here's a question for all of you. Do you believe in rights and freedoms for all humans across this planet? I'm going to repeat that. Do you believe in equal rights and freedoms for all humans across this planet? If you answered yes to that, then you can move on to step number 2. If you answered no to that, then maybe you need to think a little bit deeper and a little bit harder about what you do believe in and why you do feel like you're here on this planet at this very tumultuous and very polarizing time. You cannot create unity consciousness if you don't believe that every human being on this planet deserves equal rights. Just say it. That's like kind of like a fundamental foundational factor in, doing anything about what's happening. All right, cool. Moving on. Step number 2 to transmuting polarity into unity. Okay, what tools and resources do you have available to you in order to make a change? What tools and resources do you have available to you to make a change? Check, check. I've got a voice. Awesome, you have a voice. Great. Oh, got some good sturdy legs. Fantastic, right? So those are your resources right there. But also, are you a cook, right? Do you cook food for your family? Maybe that's a resource. Do you have maybe friends and family members who are asleep? Do you have knowledge to help them wake up or think outside of the box? Great, that is a tool. That's a resource, okay? What about an influence, right? Do you have a network or an influence? Maybe your network, like I said, is in cooking. Maybe your network is in pranks. Maybe your network is in cars and automobiles. Great, you have a network of people that you can influence, that you can wake up, that you can just help to think outside of the box. So I want you all to think about it. What are your tools and resources that you can apply to creating a change for equality, a change for unity? Okay? Do you feel the need to join the protests or not? I know a lot of people are like, I'm there, I'm doing it, right? And for me personally, even if I was currently in LA, probably not, I believe in that, but I want to make a change a different way. I'm making a change with my voice and my influence, my network, just to allow people to think outside of the box or think beyond mainstream or think in a different capacity, right? That's what I can do. That's what I do best. My days of political protests are over, but we need as many people to speak up and to rally together in order to make a change. Every one of you has a piece of the puzzle, but you need to understand what tools and resources you have in order to understand what piece you are a part of. Okay? All of you can make a difference, and you don't have to picket and riot on the street in order to do so. Okay. The third step, transmuting polarity into unity by taking action without reaction. And I'm going to repeat that because it's very powerful. Transmuting polarity into unity by taking action without reaction. So, and I just got chills. Go out of your way to smile at a homeless man. Go out of your way to cook a meal for a neighbor. Go out of your way to show kindness to everyone. Go out of your way to help someone who's in a wheelchair. Go out of your way to make a friendly gesture at a stranger. Unity consciousness is a huge endeavor. But if every single one of us devote even 1% of our capacity to making our individual reality a better place to live, and you start treating everyone the way that you want to be treated, like I said, the way that you treat your mom or your best friend, right? Then the world is going to be a better place. So it's really important that you are aware that you have power, that you have the ability to make an impact in your reality. And it's just, all it takes is one step at a time. And we can make this world a better place. We don't have to be aggressive. We don't have to be violent. But we do need to take action. Because if we don't take action, then no one will. This is our time to speak up. This is our time where we are supported by one another. Where we are finally safe to speak up and say what's on our mind. And as long as it's always keeping in mind unity and equality, then you've got to say it, right? Just like with your friends and family. If you are trying to spread truth, knowledge, and information to them, as long as it's for their highest good, and with the intention of equality and love and kindness, then say it. You don't want to be crossed over to the other side and wish that you would have done something more. You don't want to be over on the other side and realize that you chose one of the most powerful times to be alive on this planet, and you did nothing. You're here for a reason. Not only are you here on this planet, in this body for a reason, but you're here right now watching this video for a reason. That's incredible. It's incredible that you found yourself here to this content. And I'm not saying that you're forced to speak up or do anything, but just showing that extra bit of kindness is going to allow for unity consciousness to finally take hold. And once again, if we can't love each other as human beings, if we can't accept one another within equality, then how are we ever going to accept an interdimensional species coming to this planet? It won't ever happen. And that's our next evolutionary step. But we can't get there unless we purge out the polarity, unless we purge out the corruption, unless each and every one of us, no matter what minority or race or gender or age you are, we all need to see that other people have not been treated properly or fairly. Women especially, women included, right? We all need to stand up for one another. So it was beautiful how I saw the protesting happen all over America. This unity was happening because we all feel deep down that this is our time to fight. Fight to end the war. It's easy to make a change. And you don't have to riot or picket or protest to make that change. And with that being said, thank you all so much for being here. As always, make sure you subscribe, check out my membership program, and I'll be back, of course, once again. So have a great week, stay safe, everyone, and really deeply think about how you can make a change in your reality and in your vibration even, in order to create unity consciousness for everyone. Thank you all once again. Bye for now.